contact. Bunker reinforced. It's holding. Medevac inbound. Stay with me. Choppers are here with supplies. Step forward if you meet the criteria. These men are ideal. Issue their sidearms. Mission commences at dawn. Synchronize.
Title: Beneath the Enemy. The underground city that defied America imagined building one of the most heavily defended military bases in the world. Only to discover years later that you had unknowingly built it directly on top of an underground city controlled by your enemy. In the mid-1960s, just outside Saigon, the United States established Cu Kai Base Camp, a massive military installation protected by artillery, tanks, helicopters, guard towers, barbed wire, floodlights, and thousands of soldiers. On paper, it looked nearly impossible to attack, yet something strange kept happening. Night after night, explosions erupted inside the base. Gunfire echoed through the darkness. American soldiers were killed, supplies vanished, and confusion spread through the camp. By the time reinforcements reached the scene, the attackers had already disappeared. No footprints. No retreating fighters, no visible escape routes. It was as if the enemy had simply vanished into thin air. Every morning, commanders received the same frustrating report: another attack. More casualties, no enemy found. For months, patrols searched the surrounding jungle. Helicopters scanned from above while engineers inspected the perimeter. They found no hidden camps, no large supply routes, and no evidence explaining how the Viet Cong kept appearing inside one of America's most secure positions. Then everything changed. A patrol discovered what looked like a tiny hole hidden beneath layers of leaves near the outer defensive wire. It was so small that most soldiers would have walked past it without noticing. An engineer knelt beside the opening and shined his flashlight into the darkness. The tunnel dropped sharply before disappearing into a narrow passage below. At that moment, the Americans realized they were facing something far bigger than anyone had imagined. Beneath their feet stretched one of the greatest military engineering achievements in modern history. More than 250 kilometers of underground tunnels, an entire hidden world. But these tunnels hadn't appeared overnight. Their story began decades earlier. During the late 1940s, while Vietnam was fighting French colonial forces, local villagers began digging simple underground shelters to survive air raids and artillery bombardments. At first, the tunnels were small, just enough space for families to hide during attacks. But year after year, the network expanded. Every conflict made the system larger. Every bombing campaign encouraged people to dig deeper. The land around Cu Kai offered almost perfect conditions. Its red laterite clay became incredibly hard once dry, almost like natural concrete. Unlike loose soil, it resisted collapse, stayed stable during heavy rain, and absorbed nearby explosions surprisingly well. The earth itself became a defensive weapon. The construction methods were astonishingly simple. No bulldozers, no excavators, no modern drilling equipment. Only short-handled hoes, woven baskets, and thousands of determined workers. Most digging happened after sunset. Working at night reduced the chance of being spotted by enemy patrols or reconnaissance aircraft. Removing the excavated soil required just as much planning as digging the tunnels themselves. Fresh piles of dirt would immediately reveal new construction from the air. Instead, workers carried the soil away basket by basket, scattering it across nearby fields, riverbanks, and bomb craters until nothing suspicious remained. Even the tunnel entrances were masterpieces of camouflage. Some were hidden beneath carefully crafted wooden trapdoors covered with leaves and grass. Others were disguised as termite mounds or concealed beneath thick vegetation. A few entrances were even built underwater inside ponds, forcing anyone who knew their location to dive below the surface before entering. Most openings measured only around 60 centimeters across. Large enough for a Vietnamese fighter to squeeze through, far too small for the average American soldier wearing combat equipment. That size difference became one of the tunnel system's greatest advantages. When the United States dramatically increased its military presence in Vietnam during the early 1960s, The Viet Cong immediately understood they could never match American firepower in open battle. American aircraft dominated the skies. Artillery covered vast distances. Helicopters could deploy troops almost anywhere within minutes. Fighting on the surface against such overwhelming strength often meant certain death. So instead of challenging American technology directly, they disappeared beneath it. Construction accelerated across the entire region. Existing tunnels were widened. New branches connected villages. Supply routes linked hidden storage areas. Escape passages stretched beneath rivers, forests, and military positions. Eventually, the network developed into 3 underground levels. The upper level sat roughly 3 meters below ground, providing quick access while protecting occupants from most artillery fire. The second level reached approximately 6 meters deep, offering greater protection during larger bombardments. The deepest passages extended close to 9 meters underground, deep enough to survive many of the largest conventional bombs dropped during the war. Vertical shafts connected each level through hidden trapdoors. If one section became compromised, fighters simply descended deeper into the earth. The tunnels weren't simply escape routes. They became a complete underground civilization. There were medical stations where wounded soldiers received surgery under candlelight. Workshops repaired weapons and recycled captured American ammunition. Hidden kitchens prepared meals using carefully engineered ventilation systems that carried smoke hundreds of meters away before releasing it through tiny concealed openings, making detection from the air almost impossible. Freshwater wells supplied drinking water deep underground. Storage rooms held food, medicine, and ammunition. Sleeping quarters allowed entire families and military units to remain below ground for weeks or even months without returning to the surface. At the height of the conflict, thousands of people lived inside this underground network simultaneously. Children were born there, couples married there. Some spent years beneath the ground, rarely seeing daylight. Meanwhile, only a few meters above them, American soldiers walked across the jungle floor completely unaware that an entire hidden society was operating directly beneath their boots. The war being fought above ground was only half the story. The real battlefield was underground.
The United States refused to believe that a network of hand-dug tunnels could withstand the full force of modern warfare. So they decided to erase it. The first strategy was simple. Destroy the ground, and everything beneath it. Beginning in 1965, waves of heavy bombers pounded the Cu-Chi region with thousands of tons of explosives. Day after day, the jungle shook under the impact. Massive craters ripped across the landscape. Trees vanished. Entire sections of forest were reduced to shattered earth. From the sky, the mission appeared successful. Reconnaissance photographs showed complete devastation. To American commanders, it looked as if nothing could possibly have survived. But photographs only captured the surface. Nearly 30 feet below those craters, the deepest sections of the tunnel system remained largely intact. Whenever bombing raids began, the Viet Cong simply moved deeper underground. They waited patiently until the explosions stopped. Then, as the smoke cleared, they climbed back to the surface and continued operating almost as if nothing had happened. Ironically, many of the bomb craters became useful. They collected rainwater, created natural cover, and reshaped the battlefield in ways that often benefited the defenders more than the attackers. The bombs had scarred the jungle, but they had failed to destroy the city hidden beneath it. American planners searched for another solution. If explosives couldn't eliminate the tunnels, perhaps the jungle itself could. Aircraft began spraying enormous quantities of Agent Orange across the surrounding region. The objective was straightforward. Strip every tree of its leaves. Destroy crops. Remove every hiding place. Within days, entire forests turned brown. Thick green canopies disappeared, exposing huge stretches of land that had once concealed enemy movement. The landscape looked lifeless. Yet once again, the tunnels survived untouched. The people living underground simply remained below the surface while the chemicals drifted overhead. When they finally emerged at night, they found a landscape with fewer obstacles slowing their movement. Another strategy had failed. Frustration inside American headquarters continued to grow. Engineers proposed a different approach. If they couldn't crush the tunnels, perhaps they could drown them. Powerful pumps forced thousands of gallons of water into every entrance soldiers could locate. At first, the idea seemed promising. Water rushed through the upper passages, filling narrow corridors and underground chambers. But the Viet Cong had anticipated that possibility years earlier. Throughout the network, they had installed heavy wooden doors designed to seal off individual sections. As floodwater advanced, defenders simply closed the barriers. One flooded section was abandoned. The rest of the underground city remained dry. American engineers estimated they had flooded only a tiny fraction of the entire system. The overwhelming majority continued operating without interruption. Once again, the tunnels endured. Then came poison gas. Military planners believed toxic chemicals would spread through the underground passages, forcing everyone inside to surrender or die. Gas canisters were released into tunnel entrances across Siu Chi. For hours, soldiers waited above ground. Nothing happened. What American commanders hadn't realized was how enormous and complicated the network had become. The tunnels stretched for hundreds of kilometers, constantly branching into smaller passages. By the time the gas reached deeper sections, its concentration had weakened dramatically. Even more importantly, the Viet Cong had built simple ventilation barriers throughout the system. Wooden panels could isolate entire sections within minutes, preventing contaminated air from spreading farther underground. The gas became trapped. Eventually, it lost its effectiveness. Another operation ended in disappointment. Next came one of the military's most trusted tools: German Shepherd tracking dogs. Highly trained handlers believed their dogs could easily detect hidden entrances by following human scent. Initially, the program showed promise. Then the Viet Cong adapted. Around tunnel entrances they scattered American soap, captured uniforms, and powerful spices such as pepper. The familiar scent confused the dogs. The pepper irritated their noses, making tracking almost impossible. Handlers watched in disbelief as experienced dogs walked directly across hidden entrances without reacting. Soon afterward, the program was quietly reduced. Once again, the underground city remained alive. By now, American commanders faced an uncomfortable reality. Every technological advantage they possessed had been countered by preparation, patience, and an intimate understanding of the terrain. Bombs had failed. Chemicals had failed. Flooding had failed. Gas had failed. Dogs had failed. There was only one option left. If machines couldn't defeat the tunnels, someone would have to enter them. Volunteers were requested for a mission unlike anything the U.S. Army had ever attempted. The requirements sounded almost unbelievable. The soldiers had to be physically small enough to crawl through openings barely 2 feet wide. Claustrophobia meant instant disqualification. Every volunteer understood one terrifying fact. Once inside, no one above could protect them. Many of these men came from smaller-built American units, while others were Australian soldiers attached to Allied forces. Before entering, they removed nearly everything. Helmets stayed behind. Body armor stayed behind. Heavy rifles were useless inside passages so narrow they couldn't even be turned sideways. Most entered carrying only a pistol, a flashlight, an extra magazine, and sometimes a combat knife. Nothing more. Every crawl into the darkness became a journey into the unknown. No maps. No certainty. No guarantee of return. Inside the tunnels, every movement demanded absolute concentration. One careless step could trigger a hidden trap. One careless sound could reveal their position. The silence itself became terrifying. Tunnel rats quickly developed rules that were never found in any military handbook. Move slowly. Touch every surface before trusting it. Use the flashlight only when absolutely necessary. Listen more than you look. Because in the darkness, your ears often notice danger before your eyes ever could. And waiting somewhere ahead,
This is Charlie. Enemy
the
movement
Viet
confirmed
Cong
in
knew
Sector 7,
every turn,
requesting immediate air support.
every
Copy,
corner,
Charlie, deploying helos now.
and
Hold
every
position
inch of the
over.
underground
Roger. All units
battlefield.
prepare for contact.
The deadliest part of the mission was only beginning.